Hey, I'm Kai from Flamenco Explained. In this video, we're going to look at how to compose in flamenco. And I should say straight off, this is not super advanced theory or anything like that. We're just going to address the idea of how do you start composing, right? How do you start making your own material in flamenco? Because it's a question I get asked a lot. And generally it's coming from people who are kind of starting out and they're creative and they want to start making their own music, which is really what we do in flamenco. So I believe that the first step in writing your own falsetas, in composing your own music, is to make the stuff you already play your own. Certainly the way I started composing and the way I think everyone I know and know of, including Paco de Lucia, all the greats, is you learn as much material as you can, right? As you learn from the masters, you see what's been done. You learn your way around the guitar. You learn, oh, these are chords I use when I'm playing Soleá or Bulerías, right? These are the notes I play for the scale. This stuff sounds really cool. I like that idea, right? So the more falsetas you learn, the more pieces you learn, the more familiar you are with how flamenco works. And that's really the key to all of it, right? I'm going to give you some ideas for getting started, but nothing really truly replaces learning and listening to as much flamenco as possible, because that's how you get to know this music. And if you're not sure where to find material to learn, check out flamencoexplained.com. We have tons of material for you to learn so that you can get acquainted with, how flamenco works. So the first step towards composing music is getting to know music, right? This is why learning falsetas is so important. So what we're going to do in this video is we're going to take two traditional moments in Soleá, which is this one, the 7, 8, 9, that happens before the resolution, and this really traditional falseta. Right? We're going to take these two ideas and we're going to look at ways to play with them and manipulate them and make them your own, right? Because this is how you're going to get in touch with your creativity, which is what you need to do, right? The two elements to writing your own material in flamenco are going to be real familiarity with what you're doing, right? What is a Soleá supposed to sound like? And then your own creativity, right? So I think that this is a great way to get into those two aspects of writing your own music. So the first thing that I think you want to learn how to do is how to basically just change something you already play a little bit, not too much, right? Just get comfortable with the idea of changing something and making it your own. So we're going to start with literally one beat of music and change it a little bit, right? To see how that works. So very often if we're playing Soleá, which is usually the first thing people learn in flamenco, we'll end with 7, 8, 9, and then 10. Right? So I'm going to give you a little assignment, which is just to play with that beat 9, right? So we're here, 7, 8, and then what I just did now was I played 9, and then I resolved to the 10. Right? There's a million things I could do there. I could do 7, 8, 9, 10. Right? I could do right? These examples are things that have been done, right? I could do 7, 8, 9, 10. Right? I could also play around with the chord, right? I did one version that wasn't on the chord, but was kind of the idea of F, right? Because it was getting me to this note, which is the root of that chord. But I could also say, okay, this chord sounds like this. And this is what I call guitar brain, because we're not thinking about theory, we're not knowing anything really about the notes or the scales or the chords. We're just saying, what if I put my finger here? Does that sound cool or not? Right? What if I put my finger here? Does that sound cool or not? What if I, put this finger here? Does that sound cool? I'm gonna go with no for that one. But that's a really good way to just get to know the guitar and get to know the key that you're playing in, right? You don't have to go learn a ton of theory to do this, and this is how most flamenco players learn their way around the guitar. So I really encourage you to do this. So already just with this one beat, right, instead of 7, 8, 9, right, we can do 7, 8, we can arpeggiate, right? We could do 7, 8, we could change the chord. We could move around inside the chord, right, before we resolve. So you're literally taking one beat of music and just playing around, seeing what you can do that's creative, that's your own idea, right? And now you've written something, right? So this is the first step and a really important one. Just take one tiny little thing, make it your own. Next step would be to take, in Soleá, a 3-beat phrase, right? And I'm gonna recommend 7, 8, 9 because there's so many variations, right? So there's a lot of ways in Soleá where we're gonna go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and then that phrase I played, 7, 8, 9, and then we resolve. If you've been playing a bit of flamenco, you probably already have a few ways of playing 7, 8, 9, right? You can do 7, 8, 9. You can do 7, 8, 9, resolve. You can syncopate it, 7, 8, 9, right? But there's a lot of other things you could do, right? There are traditional things, for example, like 7, 8, 9, 10. So just for fun, let's take this idea for 7, 8, 9, right? We're not gonna worry about necessarily learning this, but we're sort of doing an arpeggio and then some notes, right? Kind of within the chord, and we're resolving where we tend to resolve, right? On E, on beat 10. So what I'm gonna recommend is take this idea of, right? So this is 16th notes in this case, right? We're taka, 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 taka. That just means 4 notes per beat. So that's one thing you could do. And you could turn the arpeggio around. You could start, right? Or you could just play notes. But you don't have to do 16th notes, right? You could do 3 notes per beat. You could do 7, 9, 10. You could do 2 notes per beat, right? 7, 8, and 9, and 10. Now, because we do so much stuff here around this chord in 7, 8, 9, a lot of what you play might sound really familiar. It might sound like you've heard it before, but don't let that stop you, because this is, I think, where you really get to play with your creativity. This is where you're gonna come up with your own ideas to express a traditional moment in flamenco. So we know that there's a lot of ways to play this idea, right? 7, 8, 9, 10, right? 7, 8, 9, 10. Things we looked at a minute ago. 10, right? Right? These are all very traditional, which means they're really appropriate. Right? They're traditional. Everyone knows these sounds. So if you take these ideas as a jumping off point for your own creativity, you're not likely to go wrong, right? What you do may sound pretty traditional, right? You may not be changing the world with this, but you're getting used to bringing yourself to something that's really appropriate in flamenco. Up to now, we've talked about making tiny little changes, right? Just getting really comfortable making something your own, right? This is not the classical approach to playing the guitar, which would be, here's the score, you play it exactly like that. Make sure you, play the dynamics that are written and everything that's on the score. No, this is flamenco. We make everything we play our own. So you bring yourself to it, and this is one of those steps towards doing that. What we're gonna do next is we're gonna take this super traditional falseta, right? It's really mostly just 3 beats of music. It sounds like this. 1, 2, 3, 4. And then it repeats. Now, the second compás, right, when we play the second 12 beats, there's generally a little variation, right? You might do... There's a lot of other ways to play this, right? Some people, for the variation section, would do, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Right? So the first thing I want you to do is just take this apart, right? Make it abstract. What are we doing, right? So the way I see it is we have 3 beats of melody. Starts on an F, ends on an F, right? F. And even if you don't know that, it's like, okay, it's that note, and then we resolve. Then we repeat that. We resolve. Then we repeat it again. And some other stuff happens, and then we resolve, right? So right away, when we make it kind of abstract, we see, okay, it's 3 beats of music, and then the super traditional resolve on E. That repeats, it happens again, and then we have some space where we can kind of do whatever we want, and then we resolve, right? So, super important point. This is flamenco. You need to be in compás, right? So, you want to account for the beats, right? In this case, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, the repeat, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Now we have 1, 2, 3, and then 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and then we resolve, right? So my assignment for you is going to be to write something that gets you from here back to here, but in this case we have 6 beats of music to fill up. So what do? You already know the notes. Whether or not you know anything about music theory, what key we're in, the names of scales, you already know the notes that are available to you, right? These. Those notes are all available. And if you sort of look around, you'll find the notes that make sense, that sound right to you. So the next thing you need to do is say, okay, this is my palette, right? These are the notes I can use. And I've got 6 beats to fill up. So how am I going to do that in a way that sounds kind of like what I'm used to hearing when I listen to flamenco? You could do a million things. You could do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, right? 1 note per beat. You could play 2 notes per beat. You could play more. You could do them in any order you want. And really what it comes down to is your ear, right? What sounds right to you. And again, the more flamenco you listen to, the more informed your ear is, which means the more likely you will be to be writing something that sounds like flamenco to those of us that already do a lot of flamenco, right? So the listening and the learning other material is always going to be a part of this. But as you see, if you take this falseta, you have all this space to be creative. Now, if that's too much, right, those 6 beats, if that's kind of like, whoa, don't know what to do in there, it's too much time to fill, another way that the second half of this falseta is played, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Right? All I did here was I took this 3 beats of music, and then I played the same thing, but I started on the 3rd fret, the G, and then I went back to my original 3 beats, and then I resolved, right? So you'll hear me talk a lot about keeping track of your 3s in Soleá, and that's kind of what we did here. We did 1, 2, 3, and then 1, 2, 3, and then again 1, 2, 3, and we resolve. Right, so that's 1 and 2 and 3, 4 and 5 and 6, 7, 8 and 9, resolve. But if you just think about the 3-beat phrases, you don't have quite as much that you're responsible for composing, right, or inventing. You can just take little bits at a time and just get used to having fun with them. So I gave you a little assignment right here with this falseta, right? I said very specifically, these are the notes that you need to fill up and be creative with. And I find that if you're not sure what to do, or if you're not totally inspired, or you're just, a little lost, an assignment can be super helpful, right? Just something really specific. Just say, I'm going to do something a little different for these couple of beats of this thing that I already play. It's a great way to get inspired without getting overwhelmed. Right? One final note I want to make about ideas, right? Getting inspired to come up with things. The better you get to know Soleá, the more you're going to realize, of course, that our chords are A minor, G, F, and E, right? And you may play them here, or the bar chords that I just played. Anything you know about chords, right? Any alternative voicings that you might happen to know are going to be a great jumping off point for composing music in flamenco, right? If you go to flamencoexplained.com, we have a free PDF called Flamenco Chords and Voicings, and that right there will give you a ton of ideas. But if you already know some theory, or you just happen to know like, hey, when I play A minor, I can also play, right? That's an A minor 9. It's got that note, and it sounds kind of cool, right? Finding different chords, you know, so that instead of saying, you know, F, E, for example, take the first inversion and do F, E, right? It's just a slightly different sound, and it might inspire all kinds of ideas. So I just want to recap. The 3 things I'm going to have you do, or the 4 things I'm going to have you do, start off with literally 1 beat of music, right? Take that 7, 8, 9, right? That beat 9. Just see what you come up with. Just play around, like go everywhere, make mistakes, just grab notes, see what sounds good, and you will start to come up with cool ideas that are your own, right? Then expand that to the 7, 8, 9 area, right? So now you have 3 beats. You've probably heard a lot of variations of this, so try to come up with something that's yours, just a little variation that's, you know, your own variation of that and sounds familiar and appropriate, right? And then last thing we're going to do is we're going to do that assignment where we're filling in 6 beats, right? We're taking the second half of this falseta, right? Bum, 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 resolve, right? You've got 6 beats in there to do whatever you want. And you can also take this whole concept. Remember I said make it abstract. It's 3 beats of music and then you resolve. You know, turn it around, play it backwards. Skip notes. Right? Do whatever you want. Play around. Don't feel limited. And the beauty of flamenco is that we're not really talking about rules. There's not a book that says this is what you can do and this is what you can't do. And what I'm doing here and what you will be doing is how flamenco evolves and evolved, right? So you just looking around, finding, you know, what sounds good on the guitar is going to be the beginning of you becoming a flamenco composer.